Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to have a look at the holzhacker TD3. This is version 1.2.0.1 for Farming Simulator 17. I've got a few pictures here of what it is. It's basically a forestry piece of equipment. This is a placeable version. Going to be basically trying to put this into a map through Giant Editor though. So we've got a ramp here from what I can see that you basically drive up to put your trees or logs or whatever else into. We also have here a bay of some description by the looks of things to put the wood chips into for collection with a wheel loader, a shovel or some sort maybe. I'm trying to work out what this is. It's two different versions perhaps. We've got one here which has got the automatic sort of setup where you just drive underneath it and it automatically puts it in by the looks of things. And then there's another version there which has actually got a bay which you would then unload into to collect your wood chips through a shovel loader of some sort, wheel loader or whatever else. I'm not sure what version I have at the moment, but I'm going to get into that in a little bit and just see what we can do with this. So yeah, okay, so that's basically what it's all about there. I'm just going to I'll put a link to this. This is from fsmod17.com. I'll put a link in the description to this particular download. Again, we'll get into what version I actually am going to be working with, and we'll get it into a map. So yeah, let's get into this. So I'll minimize that for now. Okay, so I've got my starter map, my 4x starter map that I've played around with in previous videos. So I'm going to see what I can do with this and get it sort of set up on this particular map. So I've gone ahead and downloaded it here, the holzhacker placeable. I've unzipped it. So I've already, as I say, played around with this particular map. So I've got a folder which I've named imported, and I've put a few different things into there already. So what I'm going to do, and I would probably recommend that you do something similar. Whatever map you're working with, you may have some other folder structures set up that you might want to put it somewhere different, but I would try to keep it as simple as possible, especially when working with particle animations and things like that. Tends to make things a little easier. Okay, so yeah, let's get into this and get it imported into this, or brought over into my imported folder. So I'm going to go basically Control X to cut it, and I'm just going to paste it into this folder just like so. And then what I will do is we'll open this up in Giant Editor. Actually, what I will do first of all, before I do that, is I'm actually going to shorten the name of this particular folder, because I don't want it to be called that in this particular setup. So I'm going to actually shorten it. We'll just call it holzhacker. If we have a look in there, we've got some bits and pieces, some scripts which we'll need to move around. There's a folder with our particle animations or whatever else, or particle systems, however you want to say that. So we'll have to have a look at those as well. So for now though, I'm just going to get into the map itself and we'll get it imported into a particular place that I've set up already. And then yeah, get some bits and pieces put together. So let's open the map in Giant Editor here using 7.0.5. So we'll just get that opened up. Shouldn't take too long, so there's not much on the map itself. There we go. And I've set up an area here just with some trees that I can cut down really easy with the Ponzi Scorpion King. So just going to go File, Import. Oops. And we brought some trees in, so it's got a bit confused there, but that's okay. Go back to the imported folder here. Okay, fine. That's fine. I'm renaming the folder. So let's come back into here. Maps, imported, holzhacker, and we'll just double click on the i3D. So we'll bring that into the map with it highlighted in the cinegraph here. Just going to go edit interactive placement and we'll bring it over somewhere like so. Okay, brilliant. Okay, so straight off we can see that this is actually the version that's got the automatic setup where we just drive a trailer underneath it, a tipper trailer or whatever else, and collect our wood chips from there. So that's perfectly fine. I'm okay with that version. So what I'm going to do is just actually lower this down slightly so it's not quite so up in the air, so we can drive up it comfortably and whatever else. I'm assuming this part here, this section here would be for placement of our logs, so when we cut them down and trim them up and whatever else, we can then put them into this particular area and then ready to go to put them into the actual unit itself for creating our wood chips. Okay, fantastic. So I'm not going to mess about with that too much. I'm just going to get it into the map and show how to get it working and whatever else. What I'll probably do, as I say, is get the Ponzi Scorpion King, cut a tree down. I'll just drag it over and put it in so we can just get it all functioning up correctly. But if I was doing this correctly, I would obviously cut the tree down and then cut the logs into certain lengths and then lay them onto here and then take them as I required them to put in to create my wood chips. But for this, just to keep the video as short as possible, I'm just going to cut the tree. I'll drag the whole tree over and just place it straight in. Okay, so now that we've actually got that into there, I'm just going to be back in a second, so bear with me. So as I was saying, we've got the actual unit into the map itself now, so that's great. So what I need to do is obviously change a few things. So if I open up the actual mod itself here, we've got some parts in here, just go through those briefly. So we've got an input trigger, and I've got my user attributes window open. If you haven't already got this open, just go into window and then user attributes, and it will then pop up for you. So we'll click on the first one here and we can see this is wood chips. Now to my understanding in FarmSim 17, that's basically how everything is set up for forestry. It's all, the field type is all categorized as wood chips, so even your trees, for example, are categorized as wood chips as a field type. So you just basically bring the tree over, put it into that trigger, and then we'll recognize it as a wood chip, even though we're actually getting wood chips out of it. Don't ask, I don't understand that, but it's just the way that the system works, and the field types and whatever else. So, but that's okay. I think in somewhere in here we do actually have a wood trigger as well. So yeah, that's again, but there's no actual attributes for that. It's using this main attribute to recognize what it is we're putting in there. But anyway, so next thing we're going to have a look at here is the actual excuse me, output trigger. When we go into here, we can see our trigger is over here. That's where we're going to get our wood chips from. We've got our product 1, which is again wood chips. So, and then we've got some parts in here for our silo trigger and all the other bits and pieces. Wouldn't recommend that you mess about too much with this, or at all actually for that matter. You can have a look through it, but if you mess around with too much there, it possibly will break stuff. And then we've got our displays, because we've actually got a display over here that tells us how much we've got in, and then obviously over here we've got one which tells us how many wood chips we have produced and what we will then be able to take out. So that's great. So there's that, and then also if we continue on down, we've got our player trigger. This is our interactive trigger for the actual TV screen or monitor, whatever you want to call it, over here. That's fine. And then if we come down a bit further, the actual visual objects refer to the unit itself. And then we come down to our work animations, which is where we need to make a few changes. So if we go into our PS structure, the transform group here for our particle systems, and we open that up, we've got some parts in here which basically refer to our particle systems. Now you can see if we click on any of these, we've got a particle system file name and a path file name in the user attributes here. And this is what we need to change a couple of things. Now there's a couple of ways you could do this. If we actually go into the mod structure or the folder structure in my imported folder here, we can see we've got a folder called PS for our particle systems, and this is where they all lie within. What we could do is change that path file name to point towards this particular folder in this map structure, this path file name, if we want to do that way. But what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to follow what it is already in the user attributes by actually moving this folder. So I'm going to go Control X to cut it, and I'm going to actually come back to my maps folder where my map 0103D is, and I'm going to paste the actual PS folder in there. So that saves me time having to rename this path file name for every single one of these particular particle systems, and it just keeps everything structured. And obviously if you have a folder with particle systems in it already, then this will overwrite some of the things maybe, or it might merge the folder together and then keep them all sort of in one place. Obviously if there are things in that particular folder that you already have in there that you don't want to remove or delete or whatever else, then you may need to possibly create a new folder. What I would more than likely do here is create a new folder or rename that folder to PS1, and then all you'd need to do is just change the PS1 in here to match that path file name and that folder. But hopefully that won't be too confusing for you. Okay, so now that I've got that into there, we've got all our particle systems set up. So I'm just going to come back to the main transform group because we want to look at the script that we're going to be using. So we've got a mod on create fabric script, so we need to obviously use that one. And there is one other as well, but I'll get to that in a minute. So we've got our fabric script which we need to look at. So what we're going to do here is, I don't need to really be in here anymore, so I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then I will close down the Giants Editor session because there's nothing further to do there. And then what we're going to do is open up the folder here, and if I come into my imported folder and then the holzhacker, we've got a couple of scripts. We've got an additional triggers Lua script and a fabric script, fabric.lua script as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take those from there to keep my path file name as short as possible, and I'm going to put them somewhere else. So I'm going to basically come back out of here, and then within this particular folder where my moddesk.xml is, I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call that scripts. Again, if you already have a folder called scripts, you may find that you are working with a map that already has these particular scripts on it. So you would need to check what version you have and then compare it and then possibly upgrade it to a later version. So if I open one of these within Notepad++, at the top here I can see that this is version 2.1.2. I believe there is a later version than that, but this will work for now. But you may want to possibly use a later version, so if the map you're working with has a different version, a later version, then you may wish to go with that and try it, see if it works. If it does, stick with it. And again, with the additional triggers.lua script, we can see this is version 1.0.0.2. Again, if you have a later version, it might be worth using that later version, seeing if everything works on your map. If there are no conflicts, stick with it. Okay, so we've also got another one here which is for the placeable. This is the XML that tells the game how things are going to work and what it's going to use and everything else. This is solely for the placeable version, so I'm not going to use that, don't need it. But what I do need is the actual parts from the mod desk. So first of all though, I'm going to choose my two scripts here, highlight those and select them, and then with Control X I'm going to cut them. And I'm going to come back to my scripts folder and I'm going to then paste them in like so. Okay, so now I'm going to go into the moddesk.xml here. I already have a script on this particular map for an additional fruit type, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this particular line. Now if you don't have any extra source files or any additional scripts or anything like that, then you may need to create this, but all you need to do there is basically go into the mod desk for the actual mod itself. So if we open this up and open that mod desk, you've got all you need in there. So what I can do here is I can actually highlight both of these, highlight both of those and copy them, bring them back over into the map moddesk.xml, and I'm then going to create a new line and I'm going to paste them in. What I need to do now though is obviously adjust this slightly because I've put them in a different folder. So I'm going to go scripts, then I'm going to copy that and highlight it and then paste it in down there so that matches as well. So those path file names are now okay for those two scripts that I've just brought over. A couple of more items I need to bring in here. We've got some parts in our L10N section, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight all of those, copy them, and then bring them over into the L10N section over here. Again, if you haven't got an L10N section, then you would need to copy the tags as well. If you're working with a starter map that doesn't have any of this set up already in it, then you'd need to obviously create that. Okay, so now that I've got that into there, I can go ahead and save again. And there's nothing further that I need to copy over from that particular mod desk. So I've got all my parts there, the scripts, the actual information that I need to be displayed within game, so that's fine. I can go ahead and close that down. And I'm pretty sure we're almost there now. We've got our scripts. Our sounds will automatically be set up once we imported the actual item into the map, so we don't need to worry about those. Don't need to worry about the XML itself, because again, as I say, that's just for the placeable. And again, the store.dds, that's just the image that you would see in your in-game store when you bought the actual item, so don't need to worry about that. So we are pretty much there now. We've got all our parts brought over and everything else. So what I'm going to do is zip all this up and I'll get it into game. And then hopefully we will have what we require, and I'll purchase some items. We'll cut a few trees down and just get it all working and everything else. So I will see you in a little bit when we get in the game. Okay, so here we are now in game, and we have the unit as I placed it within Giant Serta, all installed. There we go, perfect. So I've got my F1 menu up, so we'll just come around. As you can see here straight away, walking under this particular silo trigger here, in the F1 menu there it says actual settings, manual charging. So if we wanted to there, with the R key, we could actually change that to automatic settings. So basically, from what I understand there, when we come into this area with our tipper trailer or whatever, we would actually have to press R on our keyboard or whatever key binding you have that set up to actually take the product, the wood chips, from this particular spout, or the tip trigger, or whatever you want to call this, the fill trigger here. But if we wanted to, we could change that to automatic charging or automatic filling. So all we need to do is just literally drive under, and it would then automatically fill our tipper trailer or whatever else for us. But I'm going to leave it on manual charge. I quite like the idea of that. So again, if we drive under it by mistake or a bit close or whatever else, depending on how big the actual trigger is, we may accidentally put wood chips in the trailer when we actually didn't want that. So yeah, I'm going to leave it on manual charge, but again, you can choose to change that if you wish to. So I'm going to come over to my little info panel here, and we can see again in the F1 menu we have our resources. So logs at 0, and then we have our wood chips at 0, and it's saying to us that the info there shows the logs are empty, which is absolutely correct. We have put nothing in there just yet. So I'm just going to go into the store here, and what I will do is come across to my forestry equipment. And as I say, I'm just going to buy a Scorpion King. I'll just leave it as standard, that's fine. Okay, excellent. And I will then just get a tractor. Let's go for this one, that's fine. Full power, yes please. Let's put some wide tyres on it, why not? So I'll get that, and I'll just get a tipper trailer, that's fine. So we'll do that. Okay, so if I jump into the Scorpion King here, we'll just get this started up, and we'll come over to the actual triggers. I just want to check something, one moment. Just going to check my volumes here, because I did actually have the volume turned off. Yes, I have, so apologies for that. So I'll just turn that back on again. There we go. Hopefully we should have some sound now. So I'm just going to come over to the one of the trees here, nothing too special. Just have a look. Yep, I need to change that. So let's change my courseplay settings so that it doesn't interfere as well. So we'll just come over, and does this thing work? There we go. I don't do forestry very often, I must admit. So we'll press B to get this up and running. We'll come over to the tree, and X to cut. There we go, perfect. So we'll just drag the tree over. As I said, I'm not going to mess about too much with cutting the logs up and whatever else. We'll just drag the tree over and get it into the actual unit, and hopefully we should have the tree disappear, and then we will be able to produce our wood chips. So we'll just maneuver around a little bit. Get the tree up in here. There we go. Tree's disappeared. Perfect. It's not ideal. You probably wouldn't do that, but for the video I'm going to just go with it. So we've got our tree, 34,177 litres. Again, I assume that's litres. And we are showing now the actual unit is started up. We've got all our motion and whatever else. We can see our wood chips in the bottom there. Fantastic. So if we come around, we have our info panel light up now, and it shows us with our it's a bit better. Shows us we've got our 34,177 litres of tree. I've done anything. And then we've got our, at the moment, 2,249 litres of wood chips. Excellent. And we can also actually bring up the F1 menu here, and we can see if we come in, we've got our 11% logs, 1% of wood chips. Brilliant. So what I would do is just going to fast forward time a little bit so we can see, hopefully, yep, we're going to get a bit more going on. And then while that's doing that, what I will do is I'm going to quickly zoom over to the or tab over to the tractor here. I'll just get the trailer hooked up and we will then go and collect our wood chips. Bit of four-wheel drive, probably not necessary, but I just tend to stick it on anyway. I think that's enough, so we'll just do that, turn the time down a little bit, and we'll just come under here. Okay, so now that we're actually underneath the trigger here, if I press R, we get our wood chips. Perfect. So just so I'm not going to, what I will do is just test this. Yep, that's fine. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to jump out of the tractor a minute, just to see if it does actually work, because I reversed under again and it didn't automatically fill, even though I had wood chips already in there. So what I'm going to do is press R for automatic charging, and we'll just test to make sure that does actually work. So if I come back round again, now if that is actually set up correctly on automatic charging, when I drive under the trigger I shouldn't need to press the R key anymore, it should automatically just fill, which it does. So there we go, perfect. So yeah, there we go, the holzhacker wood chip maker, or whatever you want to refer it to. All in the map, set up, scripts, triggers, whatever else, particle systems, all working perfectly fine. So yeah, hopefully this was of some help to anybody who's had a look at this and wanted to get it into a map through Giants Editor. Thanks very much for watching, and I will catch you on the next one.